What if I told you about a man who could paint the most mysterious smile in the world and dream of machines that could fly, all hundreds of years ago?
That sounds amazing. Who was he?
He was Leonardo da Vinci, one of the most talented people in history. He wasn't just a painter, he was also a scientist, inventor, and thinker. His ideas were so advanced that some of them only became real in modern times.
So, he wasn't just about art?
Not at all. He painted masterpieces like the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, but he also designed machines, studied the human body, and explored the world in ways no one else did back then.
I can't wait to learn more about him. Let's dive into the story of Leonardo da Vinci, an artist, inventor, and a true genius ahead of his time.
Let's start at the beginning. Leonardo da Vinci was born on April 15, 1452, in a small town called Vinci in Italy. That's where his famous name comes from.
Vinci? That sounds like a quiet place to grow up.
It was. His father, Ser Piero, was a lawyer, and his mother, Caterina, was a local woman. But here's the thing. Leonardo wasn't their legitimate child.
What do you mean?
He was born out of wedlock. This made life a bit harder for him. Both his parents married other people after he was born. He didn't live with either of them for long and spent much of his childhood with his grandfather's family.
That must have been tough. But it sounds like his early years shaped him in important ways.
Exactly. Even though we don't know much about his childhood, it's clear that Leonardo showed talent early on. He didn't have formal schooling like we do today, but he learned to read, write, and do basic math.
So, no fancy education. How did he develop his talent?
His natural curiosity and love for learning made all the difference. He was always observing the world around him, drawing, exploring, and asking questions. By 1457, he was living with his grandfather full-time, and he likely helped his mother with small tasks whenever he could.
It's amazing that someone with such a simple start could go on to achieve so much.
It really is. His humble beginnings didn't hold him back. Instead, they fueled his curiosity and creativity. Being close to nature in Vinci probably played a big role in inspiring his future work in art and science.
So, his childhood set the stage for everything he achieved later?
Absolutely. Leonardo's early life may have been simple, but it gave him the foundation he needed to rise above his challenges and become one of history's greatest minds.
After his childhood in Vinci, Leonardo's life changed when he moved to Florence in the 1460s. Florence was a center of art and learning at the time, full of talented people and new ideas.
That must have been exciting for someone like Leonardo. What brought him there?
He became an apprentice at the studio of Andrea del Verrocchio, one of the best artists of the time. As an apprentice, he learned painting, sculpting, and even some engineering.
So he didn't start as a great artist. He had to train and learn first?
Exactly. He was just a teenager when he began working with Verrocchio. Apprentices spent years learning from their masters. Leonardo helped with many projects, including a famous painting called The Baptism of Christ.
Did he make a big contribution to that painting?
Oh, yes! He painted one of the angels in the scene, and it was so beautiful that it impressed everyone, including Verrocchio. Some people even say Verrocchio stopped painting after that because he felt Leonardo's talent was greater than his own.
Wow, that's quite the compliment. Did Leonardo work on other projects during this time?
Yes, he also worked with other well-known artists like Botticelli and Ghirlandaio. This gave him even more experience and helped him grow as an artist.
So by the time he finished his apprenticeship, he must have been ready to stand on his own.
Exactly. When he was just 20 years old, he became a master in the Guild of St. Luke, a respected group of artists. This allowed him to take on his own projects and create works that showed his unique style.
Do we know what his first independent work was?
Yes, it was a pen and ink drawing of the Arno Valley in 1473. This drawing showed his talent for combining art with a deep understanding of nature.
It sounds like his time as an apprentice gave him everything he needed to start his amazing career.
Absolutely. Florence, Verrocchio, and those early projects prepared him to become the genius we know today. It was the perfect beginning for his journey as an artist and innovator.
Let's talk about what Leonardo is most famous for: his art. His works are some of the most admired in history.
Like Mona Lisa, that painting is famous all over the world.
Yes, but before we get to her, let's start with The Last Supper. Leonardo painted it between 1495 and 1498 in Milan for the Duke of Milan. It shows the moment when Jesus tells his followers that one of them will betray him.
I've seen pictures of it. The emotions on their faces are so real.
That's what makes it so special. Leonardo used facial expressions and body language to show how each person felt. Some shocked, others confused. It's like you can feel the tension in the room.
But didn't he use a new painting method for that?
He did. Instead of painting on wet plaster like most artists, he tried a dry technique. It allowed him to add more detail, but sadly, the paint started fading quickly. Even though it's damaged, it's still one of the most studied and copied paintings in history.
That says a lot about how brilliant it is. What's another famous work of his?
There's Vitruvian Man, which he drew in 1490. It's a picture of a man with his arms and legs in different positions, showing perfect balance.
I've seen that drawing. Isn't it about how the human body connects to nature?
Exactly. Leonardo wanted to show how art and science are linked. He used math to explain the proportions of the human body and how they relate to the world around us.
That's amazing. Now let's talk about Mona Lisa.
Ah, Mona Lisa. She's probably the most famous painting in the world. Her smile is so mysterious that people are still trying to figure out what it means.
Why does it look so different from other paintings?
Leonardo used a technique called sfumato, which blends colors smoothly without hard lines. It gives the painting a soft, lifelike look, almost like she's alive.
And people still wonder who she is, right?
That's true. Some say she's Lisa del Giocondo, the wife of a wealthy merchant. Others think she might represent beauty or even be a secret self-portrait of Leonardo.
No wonder it's so famous. Each of these works shows how skilled and creative Leonardo was.
Absolutely. His art isn't just beautiful, it also combines emotion, detail, and discovery. That's why his masterpieces still inspire people today.
Leonardo wasn't just an artist, he was also an inventor and a scientist. His mind was full of ideas that were far ahead of his time.
What kind of ideas are we talking about?
Well, let's start with flight. Leonardo was fascinated by the idea of humans flying. He carefully studied birds and even wrote a book called Codex on the flight of birds.
So, he wanted to understand how birds fly to help humans do the same?
Exactly. He designed flying machines, including one that looked like a helicopter. He believed that with the right design, people could one day take to the skies.
That's incredible for someone living in the 1500s. Did he build any of these machines?
No, most of his designs stayed on paper, but they showed how creative and forward-thinking he was.
It seems like he didn't stop at machines. Didn't he also study the human body?
He did. Leonardo dissected human and animal bodies to learn how they worked. His drawings of muscles, bones, and organs are so detailed that they're still admired today.
So, his studies helped both art and science?
Yes, by understanding anatomy, he became a better artist. His knowledge of how the body moves made his paintings and sculptures more lifelike.
And he didn't stop there, did he?
Not at all. He also worked on engineering projects. He designed bridges, water systems, and even war machines like tanks and giant crossbows.
Wait, he designed tanks? That's way ahead of his time.
It was. He imagined machines that could help armies or solve big problems. Even though many of his ideas weren't built, they showed how art and science could work together.
It's like he saw the world in a completely different way.
Exactly. For Leonardo, curiosity was everything. He believed that asking questions and exploring ideas could lead to amazing discoveries.
His inventions and studies still inspire people today, don't they?
They do. Leonardo showed us that creativity has no limits. His work reminds us to dream big and explore new possibilities.
In the last years of his life, Leonardo moved to France. In 1516, King Francis I invited him to live at the Château du Clos-Lucé, a beautiful home near the royal palace.
It sounds like the king really admired him.
He did. The king called Leonardo the royal painter and gave him a lot of support. Leonardo continued working on his ideas, focusing more on science and engineering than painting during this time.
So he was still exploring and learning even in his later years?
Absolutely. He worked on plans for new inventions, studied math and anatomy, and shared his knowledge with others. But his health began to decline, and he completed fewer works.
That must have been difficult for him. When did he pass away?
Leonardo died on May 2, 1519, at the age of 67. He left most of his works, including his drawings and writings, to his assistant, Francesco Melzi, who took care of them after his death.
It's amazing that so many of his ideas and sketches have survived.
It really is. Those manuscripts show how much he loved to explore new things. His ideas have inspired artists, scientists, and inventors for centuries.
And his influence is still strong today.
Definitely. Leonardo's name is a symbol of creativity and genius. He proved that one person can change the world by thinking differently.
If you enjoyed this story, let us know whose life you'd like us to talk about next.
And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. See you next time.